course, and you don't have to be snippy about it. So, I mean, this is going to be a more complicated and tougher case for this president to make than it was for George W. Bush.
And it's going to be excruciating for the country.
Well, I think it'll be, so divisive in terms of, you look at the comparison, let's take a state like Pennsylvania. You look at the rural counties in the middle versus, the counties that are strong Democratic counties, Pittsburgh, but also around that Philadelphia area. That's one level of division. But I think you also have to keep in mind, in a place like Georgia, you're looking at votes around the Atlanta area, heavily minority votes. In Pennsylvania, again, you're looking at votes concentrated in the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh area. Again, specifically in Philadelphia, heavily minority votes. And the suggestion that there might be some hanky-panky or fraud or whatever is, again, going to raise the level of division, I think, in the country. I think it just tears our social fabric.
Let me hold on one second. We have under 2 minutes now before the president, but we do have a call to make. The decision desk is now calling the Montana Senate race for the incumbent, Steve Daines, Republican, against Steve Daines, the presidential candidate at one time, ran for Senate. This was supposed to be a Democratic pickup. This is a big hole for Republicans, and you see the 46-47, it's only Democrats +1. Remember, they have to have net +4 to take over control. We're getting to the point, if you look to Michigan, if you look to Purdue and Georgia, if he stays over 50%, that we may, this morning, be able to say that Republicans are going to hold on to control in the U.S.
I was just going to say, if you want a pretty good idea what the president's going to say, I just got a fundraising appeal from the Trump-Pence campaign breaking. Democrats plan to steal the election. We're emailing you now to ask you to step up one last time and defend the president. The Democrats will steal the election. We can't let them get away with it. So we are in full-scale 2000 litigation, and they're raising money to begin a legal effort to stop vote counting in various places and to say that the Democrats are stealing the election.
But I should point out, finishing my Senate thought, that Tom Tillis has already declared victory in North Carolina. We had not called that race, but he has declared victory down there. It's lining up that Mitch McConnell, after his victory tonight, will continue to be Senate Majority Leader and not Minority Leader.
And it's worth pointing out that
what 2000 proved was we have institutions and procedures for settling these kinds of disputes. They held up then, took a long time, a lot of different courts at many levels, ended up in the Supreme Court, but it was handled. We're designed, we have checks and balances and processes. They worked then, my guess is they'll work now. They'll work now, and in the end, people by and large will accept it. At least they won't refuse to accept it any worse than they refused to accept Donald Trump's clear victory 4 years ago. I might also add about 2000, by the way, that the slogan of the Democrats was, we want to count every vote. But they didn't really want to count every vote. They wanted to count votes and keep counting votes in parts of Florida where they believed they would pick up votes. They didn't want to count anywhere else. David Boies, who was the lawyer for the Trump team, acknowledged that in his book.
The Bush team.
I'm sorry, did I say
the Trump team? It's the Bush team. You mean the 2000?
No, the Gore team. The Gore team, yeah. David Boies was the Gore team.
Sorry.
And he said in his book that they didn't want to go counting more, try to count in the county, but they didn't think they were going to pick up.
Well, that's what's going to happen here too.
Yeah.
Don't you think that you're going to start saying, well, you can count them here or don't count them there, and there'll be obviously objections to what's going on in Philadelphia or what's going on in Georgia now in Fulton County. I wish I were as optimistic as you, and certainly I don't think the country's going to come apart about it. But
that's what I'm saying.
This is the last thing the country needs. I mean, so many people are close to a political nervous breakdown, and it seems to me this is going to put us closer to the edge of that.
it's a 2020 cherry on the top of a really awful Sunday that the country really does not need, and that I think is one of the most difficult parts of watching all of this unfold tonight. It's starting to look up. We did some history lessons earlier, but it's like 1896. Hayes and Tilden, post-Civil War, during Reconstruction, an election that went on for months with no resolution until it was finally decided. Back then, they used to do the inauguration in March, and I believe it dragged on for 3 or 4 months.
4 months counting. But here's a benefit. We are now 13 minutes with Britt still here as we wait for President Trump.
Every minute's a bonus, Britt.
To speak. Dana, your thoughts as we get ready to hear from President Trump?
I can hear Biden snoring now.
Having worked in the Bush White House, that Bush v. Gore decision, it was deeply scarring for a lot of people, and you know, we all remember it. We were there covering it. I went to bed that night thinking President Bush had won, and woke up in the morning with my husband saying, "I'm so sorry, I didn't win." And you know, it still weighs heavy on people's minds. And at the time, there was no incumbent in the White House. The one thing that's really different about this, look at this setting, that where President Trump is going to be speaking from the East Room of the White House, just below the residence that he calls home, the People's House. I think that feels a little bit different tonight.
Well, it also felt different for the Republican National Convention. The final speech on Thursday night to be on the South Lawn, and we were there, and you know, this White House for this president in an age of COVID-19 has been the place where he is delivering the big moments, and this is obviously one of the biggest as he tries to hold on to a re-election.
Yeah, he has been forced to do all of these events right at the White House, and it is his home and his residence, and he does gain the advantage of being able to have this amazing backdrop and very presidential environment for these big moments.
Can I just say something? I mean, we need to make the point, and obviously there are concerns, but the idea that the vote isn't over on election day and that elections aren't decided. In 2000, it wasn't decided. In 2004, we went to bed and we didn't know whether Bush or Kerry was going to win. I remember as a youngster, Jack Kennedy and Richard Nixon in 1960. We didn't know until the morning that Kennedy had beaten Nixon. So the idea that we don't know by some witching hour on election night or the morning after who the president is not unusual and is no sign that there's anything funny going on. And, you know, perhaps when the vote is counted in all of these places, there are 6 major states that are still undecided. It may be that without Pennsylvania, one of these gentlemen is able to win and we're able to avoid this litigation. I hope so, but as you say, Martha, it's 2020. It
took till 3:30 in the morning in 2016 for us to make that final call, to call for the 45th President of the United States. This moment, it's fraught with a lot of things, but really just getting it done in each one of these states is the deal that these state election offices have to deal with.
Right. So earlier we were discussing this, and you know, the lawyers came in, and I think Britt Hume made the point. These decisions about how elections are conducted are set by the state legislatures. What we are seeing in the current atmosphere is state election offices make provisions to help people to vote in the midst of the virus, or possibly because there's a very difficult time in American life and people are ill. What we are seeing now, I think, is setting up again, and just come back to this, I think, a very difficult moment in terms of American life. But I just wanted to reiterate what Chris had said. It's not unusual that you have an election for president decided beyond the day of the election, and it's, again, a consequence of the fact that every state, you know, states' rights, 10th Amendment, is able to make their own rules for how the election is conducted within their boundaries. By the way, Martha, I was so impressed that you knew about Rutherford B. Hayes and Tilden, and how that decision was decided. It basically,
I love the shrug. I love the shoulder shrug.
Pulling troops out of the South. That's how we got President Hayes.
That's how we got President Hayes.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's it.
Awkward pause.
Congratulations, President Hayes. Probably
I also say we've had about 20 minutes and 2-minute warnings for the president.
I imagine he has a way that he wants to say things, and the lawyers have a way that they want him to say things. So that's why you got the teleprompters there, because you don't want him to say something that is going to be used against him in court if this does go to any sort of a court situation.
So you're saying this is not a freewheeling operation?
This is not a rally. I would say that.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
I like how all smiles. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight, and a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people, and we won't stand for it. Yeah. I want to thank the First Lady, my entire family. Celebration. We were winning everything, and all of a sudden it was just called off. The results tonight have been phenomenal, and we are getting ready. I mean, literally, we were just all set to get outside and just celebrate something that was so beautiful, so good. Such a vote, such a success. The citizens of this country have come out in record numbers. This is a record. There's never been anything like it. To support our incredible movement. We won states that we weren't expected to win. Florida, we didn't win it. We won it by a lot. The great state of Ohio. We won Texas. We won Texas by 700,000 votes, and they don't even include it in the tabulations. It's also clear that we have won Georgia. Yeah. We're up by 2.5%. We're 117,000 votes with only 7% left. They're never going to catch us. They can't catch us. Yeah. Likewise, we've clearly won North Carolina. 1.4% for 77,000 votes with only approximately 5% left. They can't catch us. We also, if you look and you see Arizona, we have a lot of life in that. And somebody declared that it was a victory for, and maybe it will be. I mean, that's possible. But certainly there were a lot of votes out there that we could get, because we're now just coming into what they call Trump territory. I don't know what you call it, but these were friendly Trump voters. And that could be overturned. The gentleman that called it, I watched tonight, he said, well, we think it's fairly unlikely that he could catch. Well, fairly unlikely. And we don't even need it. We don't need that. That was just a state that if we would have gotten it, it would have been nice, Arizona. But there's a possibility, maybe even a good possibility. In fact, since I saw that originally, it's been changed and the numbers have substantially come down just in a small amount of votes. So we want that obviously to stay in play. But most importantly, we're winning Pennsylvania by a tremendous We're up 690,000 votes in Pennsylvania. These aren't even close. It's not like, oh, it's close. With 64% of the vote in, it's going to be almost impossible to catch. And we're coming into good Pennsylvania areas where they happen to like your president. We're winning Michigan. I'll tell you, I looked at the numbers. I said, whoa. I said, wow, that's a lot. By almost 300,000 votes. Yeah. And 65% of the voters. And we're winning Wisconsin. So we're winning. We don't need all of them. We need, because when you add Texas in, which wasn't added, I spoke with the really wonderful governor of Texas just a little while ago, and Greg Abbott, he said, congratulations. He called me to congratulate me on winning Texas. I mean, we won Texas. I don't think they finished quite the tabulation, but there's no way. And it was almost complete, but he congratulated me. Then he said, by the way, what's going on? I've never seen anything like this. Can I tell you what? Nobody has. So we won by 107,000 votes with 81% of the vote. That's Michigan. So when you take those three states in particular, and you take all of the others, I mean, we have so many, we had such a big night. You just take a look at all of these states that we've won tonight, and then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by. And all of a sudden, it's not like we're up 12 votes and we have 60% left. We won states, and all of a sudden, I said, what happened to the election? It's off. And we have all these announcers saying, what happened? And then they said, oh, because you know what happened? They knew they couldn't win. So they said, let's go to court. And did I predict this, Newton? Did I say this? I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots. I said exactly, because either they were going to win, or if they didn't win, they'll take us to court. So Florida was a tremendous victory. 377. Texas, as we said. Ohio. Ohio, a tremendous state, a big state. I love Ohio. We won by 8.1%. Almost 500,000 votes. North Carolina, big victory with North Carolina. And so we won there. We lead by 76,000 votes with almost nothing left. And all of a sudden, everything just stopped. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list. It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment. And we will win this. And we, as far as I'm concerned, we already have won. I want to thank all of our support. I want to thank all of the people that worked with us. And Mr. Vice President, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to join you in thanking more than 60 million Americans who have already cast their vote for 4 more years for President Donald Trump. And while votes continue to be counted, we're going to remain vigilant, as the President said. The right to vote has been at the center of our democracy since the founding of this nation, and we're going to protect the integrity of the vote. But I really believe with all of my heart, with the extraordinary margins, Mr. President, that you've inspired in the states that you just described, and the way that you launched this movement across the country to make America great again, I truly do believe, as you do, that we are on the road to victory and we will make America great